I was drafted, and I had 2 children. But Montana having scarce population, well, we got to the fathers pretty early. I was thinking I'd try to get in the Air Corps and take the test. So I went in the Army, and I got in infantry. But the reason I didn't get to take the test was I was 26 years old, and I was 26 and a half. I went to basic training in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, and we had about, several hundred people there. Well, we had sleeping bags, and we'd have to shake them out because snakes like to get in there and where it's warm, and I didn't want to get in with a snake. Joe Salzberg, he was a Jewish kid, but he was very, very wonderful. We were telephone linemen, and we'd spread battle lines from the headquarters company to each ABCD companies. And sometimes we'd get sidewise, so we'd have a mortar shell come in, and we'd both run. He'd go one way and I'd go the other. Then we'd creep back to see if he was still alive. One time we had to go on the line, we had to go through a minefield, and we had just captured a German Army guy, but he was from Holland, and he says he just got captured and they just put him in the Army. So he said, I set this minefield and I can take you through it. And so the head man there at the deal says, well, you and Joe want to go through it? And so we said, yeah, we'll go through it. We stepped in his steps and followed him across this, and it saved us quite a few deals, and then we strung wire too. And I got across that, and then I got a Bronze Star for it. We crossed the river into Florence, and we had to carry our rifles up above our head to keep them getting wet, and things like that. I was in 5 battles according to my discharge. 5 major battles, they called them. To me, that was all one big major battle. I was in Florence, Frienzi, they call it over there. We was going across the field one time, and one of those fellows up in the tree started shooting at us, and I had a small automatic, and I fanned the air with it, and he didn't shoot no more, so I guess I made it. The Germans, when they had their machine guns, they would shoot about 3 feet above the ground because they wanted to disable you instead of kill you. And so all you do when you heard the machine gun going was get down flat. And I had this telephone under me, it was about that thick, and boy, I'd be digging that out from under me. One time I came back from the hospital. I was in the hospital because I had malaria. And I just got back, and I had a lot of mail. And they brought the mail in, and I was starting to read it, and the fellow says, Shoemaker, you and Joe got to get out and get line so-and-so. And so I started going. The guy says, yeah, you stay there. He says, you read your mail, I'll go for you. And he went, and he got killed. And that was terrible. But we wrote to his wife quite a bit from then on, because he wasn't exactly a friend, but he was just one of the soldiers. And he says, you go ahead and read your mail. And he says, I'll go out for you. And then we had the mortars came in, and Joe got away, but we knew how to scamper. But this fellow evidently didn't, and he got his head blown off, so he was in bad shape. Now I had to go out and pick him up. I loved the Army because it just sort of made a man out of you. And I liked Joe awfully well. He was Jewish, and he would get all those cookies and things from home for their holidays, and I enjoyed them. The war was ended, and I was in the hospital then, and I didn't know whether I'd get back to my outfit or not, but I did. And they sent us to Trieste to save it because they was afraid that the dictator from Hungary, what was his name? Tito, would come down there, but he didn't. And so then we got to go in little castles there, see Udine and places like that. And my first job was after I came back, because when I was a hobo, I earned some money, but I never had a job. And I earned $15 per week. And it was a secondhand store, reclaiming the furniture. And in them days, we had the old wooden stoves that you cooked on. And we'd stick them in a lye pot and then take them out and then scrub them down, clean them. And then you'd sell them for maybe $50, $60, and you only paid 10 or 15 for them. When I come back from the war, I decided that I wasn't going to have anybody tell me what to do, because I got told what to do all the time in the Army. So I went to Sidler, and he had a MRC, which is a license to move people. And so I bought that, and I had Shoemaker transfer for a while. And then I got about 3 ruptures, and I told my men to get a job, and I sold out. And then I took on Standard Brands. At that time, they had a whole list of things they sold, but the main thing was yeast. And at that time in Missoula, we had about 5 wholesale bakeries, but they all moved out. And when they moved out, why, I bought the route. And then I started the bakery and restaurant supply, and I was handling everything wholesale. And I learned to go for wholesale instead of retail. And I really enjoyed that, and that's what I was doing when I retired. I had my folks live with me when they were in rough shape. My dad didn't, being a deaf mute, he couldn't get cataracts out of his eyes because they have to have cooperation and they couldn't communicate. So he went blind, and his 9 years of blindness, I took care of him, or my wife and I. When my wife was sick in bed, she had this stroke, and My gravestone's is already indicated. It's got my wife's name on it and my son that died. And it's got my name on it and the date I was born, but I haven't finished it yet. Her name was Helen Norgard, and we've been going together for 25 years. And we love each other. And she was, in her life, when she worked for the Forest Service, and anything that you could save money on, why she invested it. And now she's in pretty good shape, and I'm happy for her. Her hip went out on her when she was on the porch, and she had to crawl into the house and into the phone. And she called me, and she called one of her sons, and she called 911. And she was in terrible shape, and when they came and got her for the ambulance, they put her on this steel cot. Boy, that was terrible, because her hip had gone out. But then another time she slipped and fell out there on that porch and broke the bones behind the knee. And they had to just artificially fix them up. She's still suffering. She has a leg on her back. She's a gal that doesn't complain. Well, I learned that, like I say, if you got interest, have it coming to you and not paying it. And I refuse to buy anything that has to do with interest. Patricia, I'm so happy that you take so much time out of your life to make mine better. And I appreciate everything you do. And I appreciate Roy. He's my favorite chef.